Ladies and gentlemen, it's extremely important to get to the start, the beginning of all of this. How did all of this take place? So when James Comey says, well, what do you expect us to do? We found out in June and by July of 2016 that the Russians were interfering and we needed to find information out. Well, first, Director Comey, the Honorable Director Comey, and we know you set up President Trump even before he was elected. First, you inform him. You say, because there's no reason from then until now, until after the Mueller report, to believe he committed any criminal act. You inform him, hey, just like you informed Dianne Feinstein, Senator Feinstein, you informed her. So you simply, inform the American politician and say, look, we are going to investigate. There are possibly people that you're working with that have ties to the Russians. And you then go from there. You did it with Senator Feinstein, but you wouldn't do it with Donald Trump. You certainly don't keep everything a secret from Donald Trump and then embark on this grandiose expedition that is so transparent. We even have a text message saying, we will stop Trump, from Peter Strzok. Now, really quickly, because I know I get on different tangents, they are investigating this professor named Joseph Mifsud, who was supposed to be the first contact between the Trump campaign official and Russia. He was supposed to be the first link, the first bridge, the first contact. He was supposed to know that the DNC, the foundation and the heart and soul of American democracy. That's what the Democrats would have you believe. It's like the den of the most insidious, cheating, vile operatives. But Mifsud was supposed to have told Papadopoulos about the Russians having emails to infiltrating the DNC or having emails that would be detrimental to Madam Cyberhack. This is the gossip and hearsay and innuendo and hyperbole and conjecture and whatever. This is the lack of evidence used to begin an investigation. This is before the Steele dossier. This is before the Steele dossier with bodily fluids raining down upon Bill Clinton. I'm sorry, Trump. It was really Bill, but whatever.
I just want to thank you so much. It feels great. I love that warm feeling in the morning. Oh yeah, this is just great for my skin. I don't want to end up looking at Joe Biden with Mr. Botox Biden, we call him. I call him the mad sniffer. I tell you what, he doesn't only sniff. What? Oh, yeah, that feels great. Thank you. Asparagus? What is that?
That whole Steele dossier thing is about Bubba Bill. It's not about Trump. And furthermore, let's say they had incriminating evidence on Trump, he would turn it into a reality show and make millions, hundreds of millions from it. Trump is not the guy to be like, please don't inform people. What can I do for you? The Steele dossier was written by political operatives. It was complete nonsense. But even before the Steele dossier, Joseph Mifsud, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there's a brilliant journalist. She's not a Trump supporter. She's on the left. She's really brilliant. Her name is Elizabeth Voss, and I don't know if she's still with Disobedient Media, but she was with Disobedient Media, and actually President Trump retweeted William Craddock, who's the founder of Disobedient Media, not long ago regarding the British involvement in all of this, which is enormous. But Elizabeth Voss broke this story along with some other people at Disobedient Media. Joseph Mifsud has had ties to Western intelligence and the West for a long time. Now we're finding out that he is linked to the State Department. Congressman Nunes Clinton dirt tipster Joseph Mifsud has ties to the State Department. How are you supposed to be this link to Trump, to Putin, if you have ties to the State Department and also British intelligence, according to Elizabeth Voss? She broke this story. George Papadopoulos was set up and framed. George Papadopoulos should really speak with Elizabeth Voss. She is a journalist who, broke this story, I think over a year ago now. About a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. So people who did research or read Elizabeth Voss at Disobedient Media or read Disobedient Media knew that Joseph Mifsud this guy is a character. He's an operative. He went into hiding. He, before the Mueller report, denied everything to the FBI. But I'll just read you this. Congressman Devin Nunes said Maltese academic Joseph Mifsud, the man who told former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos the Russians had thousands of Hillary Clinton's emails, likely has links to U.S., British, and Italian intelligence services and the State Department, where Clinton served as the country's top diplomat. So the guy went into hiding. Okay, just like Christopher Steele went into hiding. Look, I can't stress this enough. This is an overt setup. They framed Trump, and they didn't even do it in an ingenious manner. This is like amateur hour. Everything was amateur hour. I mean, they didn't even you could probably think up a scenario that was, you could probably think up a scenario that was a lot more, I don't know, that had a lot more elements to it that would be more realistic. This is like a bunch of middle schoolers wanted to write a play on what they think this cloak and dagger spy like a spy novel. They wrote a spy novel and they wanted to adapt it into a play. This is ridiculous. So oh Lord. Whoa, that was weird. That was really weird. That was crazy. Okay, so let's just read this. Mifsud, a London-based professor and former Maltese diplomat, had long been suspected of deep ties to Russian intelligence. However, he is now linked to the State Department, the U.S. State Department, a place I once interned at. Little trivia on H.A. Goodman. But anyway, Mifsud, a London-based and former this was in college. Mifsud, okay, so had long suspected, he is an elusive figure and stayed out of the spotlight. I did a whole segment, why didn't the wonderful Bob Mueller interview him? Why didn't Mueller interview Natalia Veselnitskaya? Maybe because the whole thing was a farce and a scam to begin with. He's an elusive figure that stayed out of the spotlight and is the subject of a letter Nunes, the House Intelligence Committee ranking member, sent to U.S. intelligence agencies and the State Department on Friday seeking relevant documents. William Barr knows. This is all a bunch of baloney. They got this guy that they had ties with, who probably already knew Stephen Halper. This is like a small network of people who know each other. They're part of the same circles. Academics and intelligence community officials and the press all hang out. They think they're, they're hot stuff. And they were leaking, what was taking place is the FBI was leaking stories into the press. The press was then building things up. Then the FBI would utilize, this is what James Comey and Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok and James Baker, what they all did, two of whom are under criminal investigation, Baker and McCabe. This is so obvious. What they all did was they had, I'm not going to put these journalists on blast. There's two that already, one writes for Mother Jones, one for Yahoo News, and then there's others. The intelligence officials would simply say, hey, we have this Steele dossier. We have this, there's so much. We have intelligence on Trump. And then you have Clapper say Brennan is like, I don't do intelligence, I don't do evidence, I do intelligence. Evidence means something to be a fact or reality. Intelligence means whatever we want it to mean. And that's pretty much anything that Madam Cyberhack asks us to do through her subliminal messages. So they don't do intelligence. They don't do evidence. They do intelligence. So, okay, they can't even tell us who Joseph Mifsud is. He told Congressman Nunes told Maria Bartiromo on Fox News, "We believe he has ties to the State Department." He noted how in 2017 Mifsud attended an event at the U.S. Capitol hosted by Global Ties USA, a nonprofit group with the State Department, and featured ambassadors and U.S. congressmen at the event. So this guy is such a link to Putin that in 2017, and now if it's past January 20th, that means this is the same guy with links to Putin that tried to help Trump, was also at the U.S. Capitol? How does that work? Nunes' letter also photographs of Mifsud in close proximity to Western officials at events hosted at a Rome-based Link University campus where Mifsud taught. Actually, let's see the Elizabeth Voss article. Let's go back and Elizabeth Voss. Disobedient media. Joseph Mifsud. So this is in January. Mueller team tied to Mifsud network. Elizabeth Voss. But then there's Russiagate, April 4th. So almost a year ago. Russiagate leads to London as evidence emerges of Joseph Mifsud's link to UK intelligence. And we have a picture here. And with Boris Johnson. The guy is a popular... He's a popular guy. Okay? He's a popular guy. He has ties everywhere. And he's not this Kremlin... He's not an operative for the Kremlin. First of all, the notion that Russia would hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated is not only absurd, it's not backed up by fact. The only reason we even think that took place is because a whole bunch of buffoons, like Brennan and others, stated that, and Comey stated that, well, we think it happened. We have high to moderate confidence because CrowdStrike was outsourced. CrowdStrike is a third-party tech firm that was outsourced by the Democratic Party. That's the only reason. But let's listen to this. So Elizabeth Voss has been speaking about this since April of last year, over a year ago. Over 1 year ago. And then you have Alexander Downer, who is not interviewed by the Mueller probe, but he is the link between Mifsud and Papadopoulos and the FBI in terms of he literally just told the FBI. And the New York Times celebrated this. The New York Times is like, oh, this happened because of drinks. Ooh, the intrigue. And then you have the liberals who, are disgruntled and traumatized that Trump won. They're like, drinks? The serum of truth, alcohol? No, this is like Wonder Woman's lasso. Oh my God. You mean he was... And nobody was drunk, by the way. Nobody was drunk. So I used to say, like, a drunken bar. Like, I was wrong. Nobody was drunk. They had a couple drinks, and if anything, Papadopoulos talks about this in his book. It was an overt setup from the beginning, and he constantly questioned. And I believe he went to the FBI right after the discussion with I don't quote me on that. I believe he did, Papadopoulos. So you're going to see a lot of people get indicted, and eventually, when Clinton loses, and she'll get indicted. But she's running again. I'm not right about all things, but I'm right about most things. She's running again. Okay? Hillary Clinton is going to run again. All of this was to pave the way. This was scorched earth policy. They had to make Clinton somewhat viable. They had to make her somewhat viable by trying to muddy the waters and make everything morally relative. So Clinton's actual crime and actual cover-up is now not as important as the fabricated crimes and the alleged cover-up of fabricated crimes pertaining to Trump. And really quickly, before I get to... so you can listen to Congressman Devin Nunes right now, but all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is... we're heading as a nation towards two versions of reality. Reality, which is what you and I see, because this is an overt... Look, if Trump actually worked with Russia, I would have made a lot of money. Like, I could have, had 500,000 subs now. I would never have, never get, Twitter would never have given me problems, and they didn't give me problems. They just, they suspended me for me telling off a journalist once, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need this. Like, I'm like Groucho Marx. I don't want to be part of a group that, would would have me as a member, but then they suspend. Anyway, I'm no longer on Twitter. I'm no longer on Facebook. But if I was on the left pumping Trump Russia, they wouldn't even have to worry about any censorship at all. So it would have behooved me to, if it was true, I would have done it. I would have explained, hey, you know what? There's a link here. Okay, there's a link here. But the whole thing was so absurd. The notion was so ridiculous. And the evidence they presented was even more absurd and nonsensical and irrational. The claim itself is stupid. But then you have the evidence behind it. A dossier purchased by Clinton? What? And she's not running again? Yeah, right. A CrowdStrike assessment, and then you have they're going to hack our democracy. That you just mean that you're going to lose again, and you're going to blame Russia. Oh, there's a lot of people believing a lot of horrible theories that hurt the Democrats. No, maybe here and there, yeah, sure. But the reality is there's enough evidence, there's enough factual data to show how corrupt you are. But anyway, let's listen to Congressman Nunes on Maria Bartiromo on Fox. All right.
Well, we're trying to get to the bottom of Mifsud. So as we talked about in the last segment, this guy originates the investigation. We know that the Mueller team wrote this Mueller dossier. They used a lot of these news stories that, in fact, sometimes were generated by leaks from the FBI.
So the FBI would, in a circular manner, tip off and give information to journalists, sympathetic journalists who didn't like Trump, and then those journalists would publish it like these breakthrough stories, and then the FBI would use these stories to either obtain warrants to spy on like Carter Page and other people, or they would use it to justify this sprawling investigations. Oh, we have to speak to this person. We have to speak to that person. We have to indict this person, indict that person. We got to speak to General Flynn. So then when people are actually set up and framed, like General Flynn and Papadopoulos and Carter Page, and Manafort actually committed crimes, but there's no love lost for anyone who's caught up in this web, this unlawful, corrupt web of just overreaching government power. It's just really unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And look, the authoritarian element here is the liberal Democrat. That is beyond a doubt. And they could have bordered on, had they found some way to continue this farce, a truly dangerous situation for the nation. Thankfully, it's all crumbling down. And now they're in panic mode. And now they're like, well, we're going to investigate William Barr. No, you're not. No, you're not. Well, we're gonna censor him. Do whatever you want. You're not going to kick him out of office. Well, we're going to impeach Trump. Go ahead. Well, we want his taxes. You're not going to get him. Well, we're gonna sue. Well, no, that's Trump. We're gonna ask Capital One and was it Deutsche Bank? No, you're not. Trump's gonna lawsuit. We want other people to comply. We want people to comply. No one's complying anymore. You've yet to even actually state that Trump transferred top secret and special access program intelligence outside of the United States government onto servers that are located in his basement. Oh, that's right, that was Madam Cyberhack. So that's an actual crime. You've never stated that he committed an actual crime. It's always innuendo and smoke, and where there's smoke, there's a blazing inferno. You don't use that logic with Clinton. With Clinton, the most absurd, like the endless streams of money and then beneficial treatment that takes place to people who give that money, that's like, well, whatever. No, it's fine. You can't prove anything. With Trump, something happens 10 years ago. It's directly linked to Trump. But here's Devin Nunes.
Now, I don't think the American people expect 20 DOJ lawyers and 40 FBI agents to write a 450-page report that's built off of news stories that in many cases they generated. Why I particularly have a problem with this is with one of the stories is because they pick a news story and then they cherry pick from it. So they use it partly to describe where Mifsud worked, but then they fail to say in that same story that they have given support to by using it in the Mueller dossier, they cherry pick it, and they don't use that Mifsud was described as a Western intelligence asset. Now, Maria, anybody who's out there, all they have to do is get on the World Wide Web.
They actually used the story about Mifsud, and then that story actually states that he's a Western intelligence asset. Can you believe this?
And if you type in Joseph Mifsud, Link Campus, which is where he worked, you will find, you don't even have to be able to read, okay? You'll find pictures of him with many foreign dignitaries.
I gotta give it up to Elizabeth Voss. She called this, my God Almighty. And all the, bizarre, left-leaning, mentally deranged people. Elizabeth Voss is not a Trump supporter. She is, just don't exactly know her politics, but she's on the left. I believe she really likes Tulsi Gabbard. But she's not a Trump supporter. My endorsement is simply that she's an amazing journalist. I know some people get really weird, like on the left. They're like, oh, the monster and ogre H.A. Goodman said good things about somebody. Like, they're trying to call Michael Tracy H.A. Goodman. It's kind of hilarious. I feel bad for the guy. Michael Tracy's a good person. He's a good human being. He's a great journalist. He does not like Trump. He probably doesn't even like anything that I believe or me or whatever. I don't care. Michael Tracy's a good human being. But, he committed blasphemy, and now he's a heretic. And it's hilarious because I sometimes type in, like on Twitter, because I'm not on Twitter. Those are parody accounts, whatever. But what people are saying about me. And then you have people like on his Twitter feed like, do you want to be the next H.A. Goodman, Michael Tracy? This is the next H.A. Goodman. It's like, oh my God. They're not only traumatized from me, there's not only like Trump derangement syndrome, there's H.A. Goodman derangement syndrome. But here, let's continue. So anyway, Elizabeth Voss called this like a year ago. Literally, I just read it. It's April 4th, that article.
Foreign leaders. You'll see that the Link campus had the FBI was on the Link campus doing training nearly all the time, nearly every year. So how is it that we spend $30+ million on this as taxpayers?
Yeah.
And they can't even tell us who Joseph Mifsud is. So we're getting to the bottom of this. So we believe he has ties to the State Department. The State Department, actually our State Department, had him in the United States Capitol in 2017. Joseph Mifsud. And remember, why is Mifsud so important? Because Mueller, the Mueller dossier team, they essentially make this guy out to be a Russian asset under the control of Putin. Says he has ties to these Russian.
They presided over the uranium sale. So when people are like, it was approved by the Committee on Foreign Investment. Who do you think was on the Committee on Foreign Investment? 10 or 12 Debbie Wasserman Schultz clones. That's not the way. Look. The people with the most ties to Russia are the Clintons, the Democrats. Not so much the Mitt Romneys of the world, Mitt Romney's a coward in a whole lot, just like Paul Ryan, just like Jeff Flake, just like Bernie Sanders. Just like, there are people who will go along with the groupthink, the peer pressure, or there are people who will try to uphold a political party at the expense of an individual. So these are people who tried to promote the Russia thing at the expense of President Trump or didn't do enough. Now, Congressman Devin Nunes is absolutely amazing. He is a hero, as is Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows. There are other people as well. But this is a situation where it was an overt setup, and all the people now who are being exposed and revealed as part of the elaborate setup have ties to one another. Clinton purchases a dossier. CrowdStrike is outsourced by the Democratic Party. This is all fact. This is like Washington Post stuff, okay? This isn't like you can just look it up. Joseph Mifsud has direct ties in photos. He was at the Capitol in 2017 with the State Department and Western intelligence and even Boris Johnson in one photo. The British are all over this. Putin is a lot smarter than this. The Russians are like masters at playing chess. Do you think they'd be stupid? Do you think they would know? They got the 20% of U.S. uranium. Now you read articles. It's not even 20% anymore. It's only like 3% now. I don't care if it's 0.5%. Why are they owning any mines within the U.S., Putin? In Utah? Why? And then you have this sleight of hand. It's all to just scorched earth policy pave the way for Clinton. Mifsud, the professor, like I always say, the professor at Gilligan's Island had greater ties to the Kremlin or Putin. But this guy, this professor, it was so, from the very beginning, nothing made sense. If anything, the evidence showed that it was a setup and it was just a very poorly set up, fabricated farce. But let's continue.
Sound familiar? So, this is the origination of this investigation, and it seems like Mifsud has an awful lot of ties to U.S., British, and Italian intelligence services.
Of course he does. That's why Mueller didn't interview him. Mueller doesn't interview Mifsud, and he doesn't interview Natalia Veselnitskaya. Natalia Veselnitskaya was the Trump Jr. meeting. Do you want John Jr. to ask for emails? He didn't get the emails, and if he got them, that would show that Clinton's server was hacked. Imbecile. Everything is linked back to Clinton's criminality. Now, that seems by like some people as, oh yeah, you think she controls the weather, huh? Oh my god. No, she doesn't control the weather. If she did control the weather, they would say it was unintentional and, she was just like, Storm from the X-Men and it was just unintentional. She didn't mean to do it. Clinton doesn't control the weather, but both Bill and Hillary have an extension of themselves called the Democratic Party. They have completely taken over in terms of when they lost to President Obama in 2008, they realized that there was no way for Madam Cyberhack to win based on her lack of accomplishments, which some people view as accomplishments. Like, well, I've been a senator and I've been a secretary of state. Let's look at your wonderful votes on military interventions that are turned into quagmires and set regions into perpetual chaos. And, you had servers outside the U.S. government, even some in your basement that were hacked by China and the world. You've had such a wonderful tenure. And then, you're linked to about 10 different scandals and controversies. And in terms of honesty and lying, you had the Washington Post is like, we found 8,000 different lies, 8,765.73 lies that Trump has told just in 3 years. Most of these alleged lies are differences of opinion or just some puffery here and there on Trump's part. Or nuances within. Meanwhile, the New York Times writes why Clinton needs to be two-faced. He literally write that, an article, why Clinton needs to be two-faced. Oh, it's how laws are made. It's just how laws are made. It's like sausages. You ever see how a sausage is made? So, William Barr knows that Mifsud is... Joseph Mifsud has ties to U.S. intelligence and not Putin, the Putin. And there goes that pillar. The two pillars of Trump Russia are that we have this direct link to Putin with Natalia Veselnitskaya and this direct link to Putin with Joseph Mifsud. Wrong. Not only did they not interview both of them, Veselnitskaya was allowed into the country by Loretta Lynch on a special visa. And Mifsud is just drinking, partying, having photos taken with Western officials and intelligence people, and he has ties to the State Department. You couldn't get sloppier than these people. These people are like the sloppiest, you might as well, I think it was a Cannonball Run, I forgot which movie, you might as well have had, the sheriff be like, there's a problem with your taillight. Bang it with his baton, and gosh, you can't be driving with a broken taillight. But what are you talking about? It's not broken. Bang. That is actually more like a better setup than the way they set up Trump. The way they set up Trump is it's so obvious that it was fabricated. It's so obvious. And then the left convinces themselves that this is the Cold War, and the government is completely objective. They convince themselves of that. But they don't, it's interesting. They convince themselves the government is objective when the government works on their side. When it's William Barr, the government is not objective. When it's President Trump, oh my God. So, they pick and choose. And it's just, and then they have the extreme voices getting offended by everything on Twitter. And it's all of this, and when she runs, my voice and everything that I have been saying since 2015 will not only be vindicated, people will realize. Because it took a while for people to start writing like me. When I was writing in the Huffington Post and the Hill and Salon, people thought I was extreme and clickbait. Now, nobody has a problem saying, Hillary, no, don't do it. Don't run. Do you think she cares? She doesn't care. I love the rebuttal when I say she's running again. The rebuttal is, they won't let her. Excuse me? They won't let her? She runs the show. She's the sheriff in town. You think they have a political party? Cheating Bernie Sanders, blaming Russia for 2 years, fabricating all quote-unquote evidence, all at her behest, at least for her to benefit? And they won't let her? Really? She doesn't... No, but they don't like her anymore. She doesn't care if they didn't like her in 2016. She still won. She cheated. And now she won't even have to cheat, because it's like people have been either completely brainwashed and just like their will to even question reality has been completely leveled. What Clinton and the DNC and media wants is for people to just be like, I don't know anymore. Please, I don't know anymore. Okay, fine, not sniffer. Not the sniffer, Biden. We'll vote for her, Hillary. Fine, anything. Stop the pain, stop the madness. And then she just cruises in like Super Tuesday. It's California and it's Texas. You already won. You got all the delegates and the DNC delegates. You've won by March. So she won't have that pesky Bernard Sanders anymore to push around. You won't have me to push around anymore, Bernard Sanders. I've done enough for you. Now, maybe we can get Medicare for all when the Messiah comes. Or maybe not. Anyway. Give me your thoughts. Check out my writing in the Jerusalem Post, the Daily Caller, the Federalist. Check out my Federalist articles below. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a really interesting year and a half until the election. My God almighty. 2019 is going to be amazing. 2020? Oh, with Hillary versus Trump every day, it's going to be the same. It'll be traumatizing for some people. For me, it'll be exhilarating and fantastic. Trump's going to win, but it'll be like, it will be like the Super Bowl with your favorite team winning against its rival yet again. Give me your thoughts below. Tell people about this channel. Tell people about my writing in the Federalist. And my Patreon is below if you want to support my voice long term. Thank you so very, very much.